show. Wagwan, wagwan. It's a thankful Thursday. We are thankful for each and every one of you who's here listening. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. We got a little break from the rain today. It looks like it anyway. It's been hot and humid. Heat index today is well over 100 degrees. Miami, stand up. Fort Lauderdale, how you doing? Wagwan, West Palm Beach, all throughout the South Florida listening area. This is Suzette Speaks. I come to you live every Thursday and Friday, talking hot topics, news you can use. Of course, we got to do some social media trends. There's so much news. I had such difficulty trying to break down which and story, which and each and every story, which of each and every story I wanted to bring to you today. But we're going to start off strong. I want to welcome everybody watching on the YouTube side. I want to welcome everybody watching on the app side. Did you know that Voice of the Caribbean is an app? Yes, Voice of the Caribbean. You can take us wherever you go. Just download the app in the App Store. Or if you're traveling throughout the South Florida area, you can listen to us, yes, on the radio, 92.7 Fort Lauderdale, North Miami, Hollywood, 96.1 FM, of course, out throughout Miami, 94.3 FM. And if you want to call in, this is a call-in show, y'all. So I try to discuss news and topics and trends that impact our lives. There were some topics, of course, that I cannot avoid. The flooding that has been happening in Texas and New Mexico now, when I've been watching some of these clips and some of the stories, and the devastating floods that took place on July 4th, when a lot of these folks had visited or were visiting around the Guadalupe River near Kerrville, Texas, and throughout the what they call the flood-prone region, hill country. They call it Texas Hill Country, and seeing some harrowing acts of service where there was one young guardsman, National Guardsman, I believe he is, who swam and rescued 120 some people. When I hear of a husband who lost his life, breaking a window to let his family out as the flood waters entered their home, and knowing that the cut that he received on his arm would be unfortunately what took his life while he was trying to save others. Yes, there are some good and bad stories throughout this distressful and distressing news story. But I also like to break it down because it's not just news, it's actual people. Somebody woke up this morning without their mom, without their dad, without their sister, without their brother. So we have to keep them in our prayers. We have to help where we can. I'm sure there are aid groups that are on the ground there that you can contribute to. And if you feel led to do so, you're encouraged to do so. But all of us can do something on this thankful Thursday. I just, woke up this morning with a heart of gratitude. And I just wanted to remind each and every one of you that, we still have a lot to be thankful for. As much as there's all this news coming at us so quickly, so fast. Every time you turn, there's a news story that, you just can't seem to get your hand and your mind around the previous news story. And then there's the new news story. So, yeah, shout out to those watching telling me, yes, there's still so many missing. I think 160 people still missing. So when you don't have that closure, or when it's, just so awful, right, the suddenness of it, and there's, questions about whether the warnings went out on time and whether there were some lapses in the system, right? Government is supposed to help increase the chances of you living, right? Increase your quality of life. So that's what I thought anyway. So when we have tragedies like this, we have to look at the warning systems that are in place or were not utilized or activated as they should have been. And of course, all of the lives lost, those young kids. I went to sleepaway camp. My mom allowed me through my Girl Scout troop. I was a Girl Scout, yes. The Caribbean would call it Girls Guide. I was a Girl Scout. And I went to camps in Middle Florida, right? All the way Clewiston, and I'm trying to remember where this other area of Florida was called. We went to these camps. I'm talking about log cabin, wood cabins. You had to go to a different cabin, which was like the shower cabin, and then you came back. Not a lot of development in Central Florida in these areas at that time. And it was a real, rustic experience for the city girls. Yes, the city girls was out there camping and stuff. I think I went maybe 2 or 3 times. So I think about the way these experiences help shape our children. And I think that was the goal of this particular girls camp. It had been, there for decades and had helped to shape the lives and the thinking of young women, giving them confidence, making new friendships, creating bonds. I love that kind of stuff. It's super important for human beings to connect with other human beings. So even in tragedy, we can still do that. There are ways, again, that you can find online, I'm sure, and give and and connect with the people who are suffering. Because I think one of the biggest issues we have in our country right now is we don't necessarily, some of us do, but I think within the governmental aspects of what happens, we have to remember there's humanity. Oh, Doug Online says he was an Eagle Scout. Shout out to all my Eagle Scouts listening, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts of America. And, or I think it's now Scouts of America. Let me get it right. But no matter who you are, you know, your life matters. You matter. And on this thankful Thursday, when you woke up this morning, I hope you realize that meant that you have another chance at life. You have another chance at being, you know, who you want to become. You are not limited to what you were yesterday or what you've done yesterday. Today is a fresh new day. And you're supposed to be able to wake up and give God thanks and ask him, you know, for direction and for the empowerment to do what it is that he called you to do. So whether you're religious or not, whether you don't believe in a higher power or not, you still have the ability to do. You know, a good deed costs us nothing, right? A positive word costs us nothing. A word of encouragement to the people that we love and even to a stranger costs us nothing. And it does something for them and it does something for you. And I want you to hold on to that as we go through this thankful Thursday. Now, I do have to talk about a little bit of news. Yes, there was an awkward moment just yesterday. I'm going to play it for you. I have to take a break. Boy, this show go by so fast. I have 30 minutes or so, but I have to take a little break. Maybe I'll play a piece of it before the break. Because I struggled, you know, there was some good news stories that I wanted to share. I struggled to kind of narrow down my list. Of course, immigration is a huge a topic that we love to cover here because we know, again, serving our community here in South Florida, many of us in our lives, our friends and neighbors are touched by immigration. Well, the nationwide block issued against Trump's birthright citizenship order, you know, I wanted to give you an update on that. And I wanted to talk about the 14th Amendment as well. This might be carrying over into tomorrow's show. Remember, you can catch me every Thursday and Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Suzette Speaks. You can also follow me online, as well as Voice of the Caribbean. You can catch all the news stories. News stories that I care about is what I talk to you about, right? The news stories that impact me when I read them and I have some sort of reaction to it. It sparks something inside me, whether it's joy, whether it's sadness, whether it's empathy. I try to share those type of stories with you. And there's some good news coming out of Los Angeles, where there were men who were working on an underground tunnel. The tunnel partially collapsed, and the 31 workers have been rescued after the partial tunnel collapsed in Los Angeles. Officials say nobody was hurt. This is a 7-mile underground tunnel that they were building in LA that goes to the sea to take out, you know, treated wastewater. And they thought, you know, they sent all these ambulances on scene. They thought it was going to be a very distressing scene, but thank you, God, all 31 of those men lived. So let's start with that good news. I also wanted to talk about the awkward moment that happened between the President of the United States and the President of Liberia yesterday. Trump praised the President of the country of Liberia for having, quote unquote, such good English. Your English is so good. Where did you learn English? I'm not even going to quote the president. I'm going to play it. CNN has a good clip of it. I'll play it after the break, where the president of Liberia is meeting with President Donald Trump in the White House. And as he's giving his statements and the cameras are there rolling, our president here, Mr. Trump, says, you know, you have such good English. Where did you learn your English? And it prompted criticism not only across, you know, the continent of Africa and all African nations here, among the diaspora. Many thought, wow, we've had that awkward moment before where you're giving a presentation as a person of color, or where you're talking to whoever as a person of color. And you know that infamous phrase, you speak so well. You speak so well. What does that mean? Well, they have a lot of terms for this, right? Unconscious bias, right? Passive aggressive racism even. Not saying that was Mr. Trump's intent. Some would argue he was actually paying a compliment. But we're going to talk about, what did you think about it when Trump praised the president of Liberia for having, quote unquote, such good English? It's something that we got to think about. Anyway, I got to take a quick break, pause for the cause. There's be more Suzette Speaks show right after this. Don't go nowhere.
The Voice of the Caribbean. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
This is Mikey Mike from the Voice of the Caribbean. For over the last 30 years, personal injury lawyer Samuel Otinski have been helping the Florida clients with personal injury, workers' compensation, medical malpractice, negligence, security.
I've been having like a really
sexual abuse
Busy
cases.
day.
We know it is
How was your
impossible
day
to go
going?
longer than 5 minutes
Got a
before
little bit
you
of
hear
a
a
tardy
commercial from another person.
start here. Hopefully they are not mad at me.
There's a difference.
I think we're doing fine. I'm going to play the clip after we come back. Leave a note. How was your... I didn't even get to talk about my July 4th, all of that good stuff. We're going to get that done.
When you call Sam Rogotinsky on his personal
We are
cell
going to
phone,
get that
you will
done.
get attention until your case is over. You can call him or text him day or night on his cell phone at 954-995-3805, 954-995-3805. And if he can't answer, he will call you back. Let me repeat, he will call you back. It will be Sam Rogotinsky giving your case the attention it deserves. For over 30 years, Sam Rogotinsky have been helping Florida clients with personal injury, workers' compensation, medical malpractice.
Ton of commercials. Anyway, what news stories are you guys watching? I wanted to talk about the Liberian president. I wanted to talk about... There's a horrific story coming out of Miami. I do not want to share, but I think I'm going to share. As a young girl, who was in the park yesterday, and a man assaulted her, an 18-year-old, at you can look this up at the Gwen Cherry Park in my Northwest Miami-Dade. And he told a little girl to come in the bathroom, or no, he told a little girl he needed toilet paper. There was none in the men's bathroom, and the little girl went with him, and he assaulted her twice in the women's bathroom. A third-party woman came in the bathroom, saw what was happening, and he stopped, ran, and they cornered him. It's big news here in Miami, but that hurt my heart. I don't even know if I want to say it on the radio, but I kind of want to. My heart hurts so much with this story, and then I can lighten it back up with the yeah, it was a horrific story. Pastor Damon. It was 11 years old baby girl, and they caught him. Two men, one ran after him, another one saw it on the scooter, and they cornered him. They say dude jumped up on the rooftop to see in the neighborhood where he had ran. And I think I gotta share this story. It hurt my heart. I couldn't even sleep. I couldn't even sleep yesterday after I saw it on the news. So it's one of those tragic stories. The poor girl. They said that I'm sweating out here. Sometimes when I'm on the AC automatically goes to 75 degrees, even though I set it at like 69. No, it goes up to like very high. It's on an auto thing. But anyway, yeah, it's a big news story out here, and I think I gotta read it. I don't want to read it, but I think I wasn't planning on reading it. Man, I have about 80 tabs open on my computer. This is why my computer is so slow. I open tabs all the time, and I'm not closing them. I need to close some of these tabs. My poor computer can't take all of this. Got about 11 tabs open. But yeah, it's one that I have to cover, as sad as it is, as tough as it is. That little girl deserves justice. And let me look it up right now. Young girl. Miami, Gwen Cherry Park. Gwen Cherry was the first. I think she was the first female lawyer. Gwen, yeah. Ugh. Well, let me see. Make sure I get my Gwen Cherry history right. Who the park is? Either she's the first black woman state legislator. Maybe Gwen Cherry was. Let me see. Who is Gwen Cherry? Yeah. Sad news, but I also want to the what's his name? Mr. Trump is comical, but yet eye-opening, because I think a lot of us have experienced something like that. Who was Gwen Cherry? Gwen Cherry. We have the Gwen Cherry Black Women's Bar Association, which is black women throughout Florida, and member of Florida House of Representatives, first African American woman to be elected to the Florida legislature. Okay, good. So I want to get the history right as to why the park is named for her. Yep, I hope, yeah, very sad story. Had my heart broken. Oh God, had my heart broken. So I'm gonna try to, I don't really like talking about it because it's like, again, but I just, that would really hurt my heart. So halfway through with my timing, I'm gonna go from here over to my Facebook Live. Just so you know, I got my hot tea bubbling, my hot water. I'm into drinking hot water at the moment. I didn't put any lemon in it. I couldn't get my stuff set up. That's one thing when you come in and you're trying to hustle, all of a sudden nothing wants to get set up properly. I try to do my screen right. I try to do this. Nothing wants to set up. I got my big old laptop you can see in the middle of my screen. I'm going to try to move it. I'm trying to do 10 things at once and nothing wants to cooperate. But God is with me, you know? I'm not going to stress myself. Hopefully it looks good to you guys. But yeah, no, it's one of those mornings. A lot going on. I had to do 10 things this morning and then try to get over here. But yeah, hopefully you guys are having a good week. My weekend was amazing. I still have a bunch of pictures from my family's barbecue. I did a wonderful cookout with my family on July 4th. I haven't had a chance to even post those. Didn't even have a chance to talk about the Miramar July 4th, which was spectacular. Really enjoyed hosting that. Over almost 13,000, I think 13,000 people were at that park that I MC. That was one of the biggest crowds I've ever hosted for. So that happened on Friday night. From like 5:30 to 9:30, they did like a fireworks show and different performances and things like that. So I don't know. I don't like to leave people with too much of a negative vibe. If I'm going to do the story about the young lady, I'm going to do it first. And then I'm going to switch over to the Trump and the Liberian president. Could be talking about alligator Alcatraz. I could be talking about birthright citizenship. There's just so much news. It's a constant battle to keep up with the news and the amount of news that we have in the short hour that I have. But you know what? God is with me. I'm going to just try to highlight what I can highlight. And I'm going to highlight, let's do Trump and Liberian president. I'm going to try to lighten the vibe with that. And read a news story. I love this from the BBC. 5 things Trump should know. SOI. Liberia speaks such good English. Oh, yeah. Joseph Boakai. I think that's how you say it. When Trump is Liberia shape. Yeah, and yeah, Liberia was founded by freemen from the United States. So that's when I was like, does he not know the history of Liberia? Liberia shapes unique long-standing connection with the United States. English is the country's official language, and many Liberians speak with an American accent because of its historical ties to the United States. It was founded, that's what I thought, it was founded by free slaves, enslaved peoples. Liberia was founded by freed American slaves in 1822 before declaring its independence in 1847. Duh, we're tied to Liberia. What are you talking about? So I'm going to try to be calm. You know I have to get a little hype. We got about, not even a minute more of commercials. I'm going to try to stay calm, you know. Try not to color it too much. But this is a commentary show.
Thank you for your support to this radio station.
So I'm going to tell them in about them leg, you must be mad, we could not do that. Foundation from earth, yeah man, a low culture. Say, we're representing for the voice of the Caribbean, Jamaica and far beyond. Yo, it's Shaggy! It's Voice of Caribbean. 1021 Shaggy on your dial, looking at while. I'm in the middle of that shit, yeah?
24 hours of the best Caribbean music. You're listening to WZPP.
The new 96.1
FM. It's old school throwback Thursdays on WZOP, WZPP Radio.
Yes, welcome back, y'all. It's Suzette Speaks loud on your radio dial. What's up? How are you doing? Hope everybody's having a beautiful, thankful Thursday. That's what I like to call it. It's also old school throwback Thursday here on Voice of the Caribbean. But if you're new here, welcome. We've been doing some work talking about the hot topics today. There are so many hot topics. First of all, I want to shout out to everybody watching on my YouTube channel. People who are watching on the app. Did you know that the Voice of the Caribbean is also an app in your app store? Yes, you can take us wherever you go. Just go over to your Google Play or your app store. I'm an Android, by the way. So anyway, you can download us, the Voice of the Caribbean. Yes, or when you're riding through these South Florida streets, you can follow us on different sister stations. Yes, in Fort Lauderdale, we can be found at 92.7 FM, as well as in North Miami, Hollywood, 96.1 FM. Of course, Miami, where you at, 94.3 FM. Now, there's something I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to get straight to it because I don't have a lot of time left, but I wanted to talk about the encounter that President Trump and the president of Liberia had yesterday. I'm going to play a little clip from CNN to give you some context. So there was a meeting in the White House between the president of the country of Liberia, right, an African country, and President Donald Trump here in the United States. And during the opening statements made by the Liberian president, we heard President Donald Trump comment in an awkward way that the Liberian president spoke such good English. Mr. Trump began to, praise the president of Liberia for his English and his standard English. And I wanted to read a little bit of a news a headline from the BBC, written by Moses Kali Garsau, as well as Wyclef Mua. These are the authors of BBC's new article called 6 Things Trump Should Know About Liberia After He Praised the Leader's quote-unquote good English. It was a little uncomfortable to watch. I'm going to play a quick clip. I'm going to use CNN's take on it to give you some context of it, just so when we're talking about this, you can hear for yourself what was going on. And again, I'm going to play a little bit of the CNN side of it. Here we go.
English is the official language of Liberia. This happened during a meeting between the U.S. president and the leaders of 5 African countries. CNN's Larry Madowo has more.
What President Trump led with at this meeting with 5 African nations showed the true intentions of this White House gathering. The leaders of Mauritania, Senegal, Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, and Liberia have all one thing in common. They're small economies, but with rich mineral deposits, rare earth minerals, gold, oil, manganese, iron ore, and they're offering these to the United States, to American companies. They're looking for win-win solutions, as President Brice Oligui Nguema of Gabon said. President Bassirou Diomaye Faye went even further, though. He actually offered a golfing investment opportunity for President Trump and said it would be a few hours flight.
Oil deposits and wonderful people. Mr. President, we thank you for this opportunity to be here. Liberia is a longtime friend of the United States, and we believe in your policy of making America great again.
An awkward moment there after President Joseph Boakai of Liberia spoke, and President Trump appeared to be surprised that he spoke such excellent English. He asked him, where did you learn to speak English so beautifully? And President Boakai smiled and nodded and said it was in Liberia. He didn't point out that English is the official language of Liberia.
So I'm going to stop it there. Again, you can watch this for yourself on YouTube, the exchange between a meeting, a group of nations from Africa in the White House with President Trump, and one of the leaders, the president of Liberia, spoke and thanked Mr. Trump for that audience, for that meeting. And Mr. Trump retorted and said to him that his English was so good. He could not believe how good his English was, and where did he learn it? Well, I want to point out a couple of facts that we should know, especially as we're just celebrating the anniversary of the adoption of the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment is what gave enslaved people in the Americas, in the United States, the ability to be called a citizen. Remember when this country first came into its birth, remember 1776, we just celebrated 249 years. This past July 4th, right next year, we'll be 250 years old. The United States will be. But one of the things that kind of looms over that history is that not everybody was considered equal at the time of the birth of our nation, and not everybody had equal rights. And it wasn't until the adoption of the 14th Amendment where everybody, including enslaved Africans in America, were given the right to citizenship. So I would love for you to look up the 14th Amendment and do some homework on that, because that is one of the reasons, or one of the ways, Mr. Trump and his administration is challenging birthright citizenship. So the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, just, when was it? July. It's coming up right now, the anniversary of its signing. But won't go too deeply into the 14th Amendment right now to give you just a brief understanding again as to why the commentary that was made about Liberia and the Liberian president that, seemed offensive to some. Some said, oh, Mr. Trump was just being, gratuitous in offering praise of how well this president of an African nation spoke. I wanted to just enlighten you. And of course, anyone listening can also call in 850-446-0562. Give me your opinion on this exchange that happened, and what does it symbolize to you? What does it mean? Have you ever been in a situation, I know I have, where I'm speaking or I'm talking or I'm giving a presentation, whether it be in a corporate setting or at, some sort of private gathering or friendly communal gathering. And there can be comments about, how well you speak or how well you present yourself. And there has been a lot of dust up, a lot of controversy on social media about these very comments. People are saying, this is what unconscious bias looks like. This is what passive aggressive racism even looks like. Now, that's not my opinion, but you see many people up in arms, not only in and around the African continent who are discussing this, but you can see it on a platform, large platforms here in the United States on social media, where people are up in arms about it because they found it very offensive. So just by way of history, we need to understand what President Trump might have missed. According to this BBC article published yesterday, we have to understand that Liberia and the United States share a very unique history, right? Not only is English Liberia's official language, many Liberians speak with an American accent because of our historical ties. That means the person who either was supposed to brief Mr. Trump did not inform him or didn't seem to, as if, just judging on the short interaction there, that he understood the historical ties between the United States of America and Liberia. Well, what happened, the reason why this accent, even though it is a West African country, and it was one of 6 West African countries that was meeting with Mr. Trump, as you heard in the BBC News report. First of all, Liberia was founded by freed slaves, freed enslaved people from America. Liberia was founded by freed African American slaves in 1822 before declaring independence in 1847. Thousands of Black Americans and liberated Africans rescued from the transatlantic slave trade and slave ships settled in Liberia during the colonial era. Did you know that? Former United States President Abraham Lincoln, remember him? 16th President of the United States, who signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Officially, Mr. Lincoln declared Liberia's independence in 1862, but the country retained a lot of U.S. heritage, and it remained in the American, quote, sphere of influence during the colonial period. Due to this integration, Liberian culture, landmarks, and institutions have a strong connection and influence by African American culture. 10 of Liberia's 26 presidents were born in the United States. The descendants of these freed slaves, known as Americo-Liberians, dominated the country for more than 100 years. This was resented by indigenous Liberians, and the last president from that community, William Tolbert, was overthrown and killed in a coup in 1980. They account for about a quarter of the population that are people who were born in the United States who now live in Liberia. So Liberia also speaks. Liberia has more than 24 languages which are spoken in the country. And the president, who Mr. Trump called, said that they have amazing English. Your English is so good. Where did you learn it? You took it in school in Liberia? You learned it in Liberia? I think he maybe presumed that they had learned it in a university, maybe in the United States. I don't know what he was thinking, but people have speculated that he was thinking maybe he came to the United States and was educated here. But we have to understand the ties with this country, this great nation, being formed by freed Africans, freed African Americans. Those who were slaves ran to and were sent to and were rescued and then sent to Liberia. That's how the country was formed. Even Abraham Lincoln, there's a rich history about him sanctioning this, right? Recognizing Liberia as an independent nation. And its roots lie deep within African American culture and tradition, even to this day. So the capital is named after a former U.S. president. Did you know that? Liberia's capital, Monrovia, was named in honor of America's 5th president, James Monroe, who was a strong supporter of the American Colonization Society. The American Colonization Society was the organization responsible for resettling free African Americans in West Africa, which eventually led to the founding of Liberia. Not surprisingly, the early architecture of the city was largely influenced by American-style buildings. Many streets in Monrovia are named after colonial American figures, reflecting the city's founding and historical ties to the United States. The city's main hospital is called John F. Kennedy Medical Center, named for the former U.S. president. If you look at the flag of Liberia, it is nearly identical to the American flag. Did you know this? The flag of Liberia closely resembles the American flag. It features 11 alternating red and white stripes and a blue square with a single white star. The white star symbolizes Liberia as the first independent republic in Africa. The U.S. flag, in comparison, is 13 stripes representing the original 13 colonies and 50 stars for each state. The Liberian flag was designed by 7 Black women, all born in America. Did you know this? The ex-president's son plays on the United States football team. Timothy Weah, the son of Liberia's former president, George Weah, is an American professional soccer player who plays for Italian football club Juventus, as well as the United States national team. Let's get some history. Here we go. The 25-year-old forward was born in the United States, but began his professional soccer career with Paris' Saint-Germain in France, where he won the Ligue 1 title before moving on loan to the Scottish team called Celtic. His father, George, is a Liberian football legend who won the Ballon d'Or in 1995 while playing for Juventus, Italian's rival AC Milan. Juventus's Italian rival AC Milan. He's the only American winner of this award and went on to be elected president in 2018. So a Liberian president's son currently plays on the United States soccer team, our national soccer team, right? The former president won a Nobel Prize. This is who I remember. Liberia produced Africa's first elected female president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was the first woman elected president in the entire continent of Africa. She was elected in 2005, 2 years after the nation's bloody civil war ended, and served as president until 2018. Johnson Sirleaf has a strong American background as she studied at Madison Business College and later went to Harvard University, where she graduated as an economist. This is the former president of Liberia. She received worldwide recognition and accolades for maintaining peace during her administration. Her story is pitted with remarkable feats of defiance and courage. And in 2011, along with Lema Jibowi and, I hope I'm saying this right, Tawakul Karman, she won the Nobel Peace Prize for her efforts into furthering women's rights. In 2016, Forbes listed her among the most powerful women in the world. That's Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And did you also know that in Liberia, the world's largest rubber plantation exists? The plantation, which measures 185 square miles, is owned by the Firestone Company, Firestone Liberia, a subsidiary of the U.S. tire manufacturer, Firestone. It was founded in 1926 to give the U.S. access to the rubber at a time when the product was controlled by the United Kingdom. Firestone remains Liberia's largest private employer with a workforce of more than 4,000 workers. Hello, United States. Hello, Liberia. The cultural ties, the economic ties, the historical ties. But our president, in this meeting, first thing he said, wow, you have such good English. Wow. Just as a note, when it comes to the Firestone rubber plantation that's tied to the Firestone United States Company, it is a subsidiary of the United States Company. The company has been accused of human rights abuses going back almost to the foundation of the rubber industry in Liberia. In 2006, a UN report into Liberia's rubber industry said plantation workers are exposed to hazardous working conditions without adequate training or safety equipment. Many workers do not receive fair wages or equal remuneration, this is in the BBC article, and do not have the right to strike. Child labor is also frequently used on this plantation, etc., etc. So what did Liberians think of Mr. Trump's comments when he said, wow, your English is so great? After this country, which was founded by freedmen, freed women, enslaved Africans from the United States, searching for freedom, demanding their freedom, taking their freedom, right? Rescuing others to be brought to the shores of West Africa, brought back to the shores of West Africa to form the first republic in Africa in modern history, let's call it, because there was always different civilizations in Africa. Let's just be clear. Our history did not start with slavery. Our history did not start with slavery. But to know the rich history of Liberia is to know the history of the United States. That's all I will say about that. It was interesting that in this BBC article, this is what was noted by certain Liberians. Okay, Foreign Minister Sarah Besolo Nyanti denied it was an awkward moment. This is someone who was a governmental official from Liberia. She said, quote, there was a lack of understanding around the world about languages people speak in Africa, which she describes as a multilingual continent. This is Foreign Minister Sarah Besolo Nyanti. She said, quote, Liberia happens to have an American English intonation, and I believe President Trump heard something familiar in the way President Boakai spoke, which is different from the ways others speak on the continent, she told the BBC News program. She added, we were not offended at all, she said, adding that the way away from the TV cameras, there was a discussion of the two countries' shared history. This is what she's saying happened behind the scenes. But there was a mixed reaction among other Liberians. Actually, just everyday Liberians. Accountant Joseph Manley, 40, told the BBC that Trump should have been properly briefed before meeting with the Liberian leader. That's what I think. Quote, Liberia has always been an English-speaking country. Our president represents a country which has a rich educational history. So what did you think? Did you find the comments of speaking to a nation's leader, a president of an African country, visiting among 6 that were there in the White House to meet on economic matters? Again, why? Because they hold rare earth minerals. They hold a lot of the precious metals and precious minerals that are needed for technology in these very small and growing economies. And so they do have a little bit of leverage, but they were there to meet. So were you offended by it? I also want to end, and I don't like to leave you on a low note. I just want to send prayers out to a victim of an assault in Miami. I just have to highlight this story, and I tell you, I have to bring you stories that touch me. This was one that touched me. A young girl, age 11, yesterday was attacked at the Gwen Cherry Park in Northwest Miami-Dade. Fortunately, the 18-year-old who attacked her, 18-year-old man who attacked her, has been apprehended. He's currently in jail without bond. I'm going to leave it there. It's such a sad story to have a young girl, 11 years old, lured into a bathroom by a request. He told her there was no toilet paper in the men's bathroom. Could she get some toilet paper for him? And then he followed her into the bathroom and attacked and assaulted her there. Thank you to all the Good Samaritans. A Good Samaritan woman who came into the bathroom during the attack. This happened yesterday in Miami. An 11-year-old child was attacked by an 18-year-old man in the bathroom at the Gwen Cherry Park in Northwest Miami-Dade. I just wanted to mention it because, again, my heart breaks for instances like this. The attacker was then ran from the bathroom and was then apprehended by Good Samaritans, people who saw what was happening. The lady in the bathroom who came in and saw and chased, and 2 men apparently gave chase, and the whole community, you can see this on video, came out and helped to apprehend him until police came on the scene very shortly thereafter and arrested him. Watch out for your kids, please. Take good care for your kids. And if you don't have kids, be a part of the village that protects children no matter what. I appreciate each and every one of you listening. Remember to be thankful today. Thankful Throwback Thursday. That's what we'll call it today. I hope to have a special guest joining me in the very near future to celebrate Thankful Thursdays with me. She knows who she is. I hope she's listening. But I want to big up all my listeners, big up all my supporters. I appreciate y'all watching. I appreciate y'all listening. Until we meet again, y'all have a great rest of your day. Get ready for Miss Lisa B right after this. Take care.
You're listening to WZOP. 92.7 LPFM, Fort Lauderdale.
This summer, get ready for a night of musical fire.
I appreciate y'all watching. I hope you have a great day. Y'all take care. Bye.
The one and only Chicago.